परमेश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद in the 18th chapter called Tattvamasi Prakaranam, where the main subject matter is Tattvamasi, the Mahavakya, which also the author says Sadasi, because this Mahavakya appears in the 6th chapter of the Chandogya, where the discussion starts with Sadeva Soumi Idamagrasit. So when it reaches Tat Tvamasi, that thou art, by Tat is meant Sat, which is the Jagat Karanam. So Tattvamasi, Sadasi, Sadeva Brahmasmi, Sadeva Hamasmi. So in this manner we find either Brahma, Tat or Sat, these are the Sat or Tat pronouns being used. Ashanayadi nirmuktyayi tatkara jayate prama tattvamasyaadi vakyarte tishu kaleshu asamshaya. Ashanayadi nirmuktyayi for the nirmukti, for the release from the samsara characterized by ashanayadi, ashanaya, pipasa, hunger, thirst. Tatkala prama jayate. As soon as the Upadesha is made, Tattvamasi, right away the prama, Sat Ahamasmi, Brahma Ahamasmi, that prama immediately so arises right away in response to that statement. Tattvamasyadi vakyarte tishu kareshu asamshaya. There is never a doubt about the effectiveness of the Tattvamasi, the Mahavakya, that it will generate Brahma. There is no doubt about that. Pratibandha vihinatvat, because there is no pratibandha. Swayam cha anubhavatmanah. Within myself and Atma, there is no pratibandha. Nothing that is there comes in the way. No, there is pratibandha in not taking place with the knowledge, other than, of course, you recognize that we need the preparation. In terms of the padartha viveka, for the vakya to take place, the padartha viveka should be there, and if that preparation is there, there is no other obstacle for the knowledge. Swayam cha anubhavatmanah. Atma himself, the nature of anubhava, experience, consciousness. Jayata eva pramatatra svatmani eva. Therefore, this Mahavakya must necessarily create the prama, the right knowledge. There can be no doubt about that. Because the Vakya has to do its job in the mind which is prepared. Inasmuch as no other factor is involved, or our will is not involved. If the will of the listener was involved, then perhaps there could be some obstacle. But here the listener is not a factor at all. The Vakya, Tattvamasi Vakya, and the mind of the listener. When there is the right combination, then the meaning of the Vakya takes place. Therefore, Prama jayeta eva. The Prama, that happens with any other word also. Right now also, when these words are being spoken, they create the meaning of their meaning in your minds. And if the mind is prepared with the language, with the subject matter, then these words will create the knowledge that should take place, appropriate knowledge, prama. Because in knowledge taking place, the individual's will does not come into play. Karma, of course, is Purusha Tantram, Jnana is Vastu Tantram. That's the reason why when the word is uttered, the mind is prepared, the meaning has to take place. No samshaya. The question is asked, Kim sadeva ahamasmiti kim va anyat pratipadyate? When the Upadesha is done, sadeva ahamasmi, I am Sat, Sat alone I am. Is that the knowledge kim va anyat pratipadyate, or he comes to understand oneself as something else? When he is told you are Sat, does he come to know that I am Sat? Or does he come to know I am something other than Sat? Sadeva ched aham shabdah sata mukhyasa ishyatam. If the meaning of aham is Sat, then sadeva hasmi, that alone knowledge has to take place. Anyache, if the teacher said Sat asi, you are Sat, and the knowledge that takes place is I am something different from Sat, suppose. Ahangraha pratipatti mrusha eva sat. In that case, that if he comes to know I am someone other than Sat, then that knowledge doesn't do anything. Number one is mithya mrusha. If Sat is the nature of Atma, if pratipatti in knowledge I am someone other than Sat, then that knowledge also is mithya. Tasmad mukhya grahe nasti varana avagateriya. The teacher says that the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, there cannot be any varana or badha or nivaranam as far as the knowledge is concerned. Mukhya grahe. Mukhya graha, I am Sat, that's a Mukhya graha. You are Sat. Mukhya graha, or the main, the reception or perception is I am Sat. And because that is the nature of the self, then we do not see any obstacle to the knowledge taking place. When the mind is prepared and the teacher makes a statement. Pratyayi pratyayascheva yada vaso tadartha. The question was, Nanu, Atmana kutastattvena, who the knowledge takes place for whom? Who is the beneficiary of this knowledge? Atma must be the beneficiary of knowledge. How can Atma be the beneficiary? Atmana kutastattvena. The self is changeless. Pratipatritva anupattau, therefore he cannot be knower, because the knower is subject to change. The self is changeless, therefore self cannot be knower, so knowledge cannot take place in the self. So phala sambandha, you are Sat, when that Upadesha is made, who comes to know I am Sat? Phala Sambandha, the Phala is knowledge I am Sat. Sambandha, that knowledge becomes connected to whom? To Atma. Atma comes to recognize I am Sat, which is what is intended. But Atma cannot be a recognizer or knower because Atma is changeless. Iti asti atmagrahe nivarana. So this is definitely an obstacle. That knowledge cannot take place in Atma because Atma cannot be knower because Atma is changeless. So say verse 107, Pratyayi Pratyaschaiva Yadavasau Tadarthata. Pratyayi Antahkaranam. Pratyaya, the vritti of the Antahkaranam, the Aham vritti. So basically, it is the nature of Antahkaranam to reflect the consciousness. Consciousness is the effulgent entity. Antahkarana is swachha or transparent entity. So a transparent entity, its nature is to reflect any shining object. Like the water with a screen, its nature is to reflect the shining objects like sun, moon, etc. So the consciousness, Atma, is the shining object, and therefore Antahkarana will reflect it. When Antahkarana reflects it, then the vritti of the Antahkarana, says Aham vritti, which is nothing but the state of the mind, also will reflect it. After all, what is mind? At any given point, the mind is nothing but a given state, called vritti. Pratyayi pratyaschaiva yadavasau tadarthata. So they are the recipient of the avas or the reflection of which consciousness. So both of them serve the purpose of consciousness. Pratyayi antahkaranam and pratyaya the aham vritti. They are unconscious by nature. So unconscious things always serve the purpose of a conscious entity. The conscious entity is Atma. The mind and aham vritti, both of them are unconscious. And therefore, they, along with the reflection, should serve the purpose of Atma, which is only conscious entity. Tayoho achitimatvacha. Secondly, both of them are unconscious. First of all, both of them receive the avasa of consciousness, therefore they should serve the purpose of consciousness. And both are unconscious by nature, therefore also they serve the purpose of consciousness. Therefore, neither the mind nor the aham vritti, both of them, two reasons. They are meant to serve the purpose of someone else, like the house built by Devadatta is meant to serve the purpose of Devadatta. And so also the mind and aham vritti, which receive the reflection of consciousness, are meant to serve the purpose of consciousness. And secondly, the mind and aham vritti both are unconscious, therefore also they should serve the purpose of a conscious entity. Two reasons. Chaitanya kalpyate phalam. Therefore, this phalam, sad ahamasmi, brahmaiva ahamasmi, that phalam, the result of this teaching should take place where? Only in a conscious entity, namely in the consciousness. Phalasya atma sambandha syat. So, phala aham brahmasmi. Only a conscious being can know I am Brahman. Mind is unconscious, ahankara is unconscious, therefore they cannot know. and they are the recipient of the reflection of consciousness. Both of them are also unconscious, therefore they should serve the purpose of a conscious entity, namely Atma. Therefore, in effect, even though the nature of Atma being Kutastha, Atma cannot be the knower in primary sense, and still we have to say Atma alone is knower because nobody else can be knower. Pratyayi antahkaranam cannot be knower because it is unconscious. Pratyaya aham vritti cannot be knower because also unconscious. So, who gets connected with the phala aham brahmasmi? Atma alone, because that's the only conscious entity. But Atma is kutastha. Nirvyapara does not do anything. It doesn't have knowerness. How can Atma be the beneficiary of knowledge when it doesn't have knowerness? Yeah. Some vyapara must take place. In the knower, some vyapara change should take place. That I am the knower of a pot, I am the knower of a cloth, etc. So, knower of pot is different from knower of cloth, and therefore the knower also undergoes change in keeping with the change in the object of knowledge. So, Atma, as you say, is a recipient of knowledge. Atma should be knower. In knower, the change must take place as the object of knowledge changes. So therefore, the vyapara, the activity of knowing, should be there in the knower. But Atma is kutastha, nirvyapara. So how can nirvyapara, meaning one free from vyapara or any activity or change, how can knowledge take place in a changeless entity? Nirvyapasyapi phala sambandhe dushtantamaha. That one who does not do anything also can become the recipient of the outcome. Some action takes place. The outcome should be on the part of someone who performs the action, normally. The result of the action cannot be on the part of someone who doesn't do anything. But this is not always the rule. Says nirvyaparatvepi phala sambandhe dushtantamaha. How someone can be nirvyapara, does not do anything, and still becomes the recipient of the reward or the outcome. So, the next verse is Kutasthe phalam yogyam Rajani vajayadikam Tadatmanatva hetubhyam Kriyaya pratyayasya cha. Kutasthe phalam yogyam. In Kutastha also phala means phala sambandha can take place. A changeless entity can also become the recipient of the result of the action which he has not performed. Rajani iva jayadikam. Rajani, just as a king, is called the winner or loser even though the army fights the battle. So king without doing anything becomes the phala gets connected to king who has not done anything. Similarly also Atma, even though is nirvyapara, still the phala sambandha can take place. Tat anatmatva hetubhyam kriyayaha pratyayasya cha. The kriya and pratyaya both are anatma. That being the case, the anatma, therefore phala cannot go to them. Therefore phala has to go to Atma. So an objection is raised. When you say that the army wins the battle, and the king becomes the recipient of the victory, that's all right there because the king has a relationship with the army. Nanu Raja Tadbhrityayo Swaswamibhava Sambandha Asti. The king is the Swami, the master, and those Sainikas or the army is the servants. So there is a relationship between the one who fights, namely the army, and one who gets the result, namely the king. They are not unconnected entities, understand? There is a relationship of Swaswami. Swami the master, Swa, the one who possesses, Swa is what is possessed by the master. Rajani Jyadi Sambandha Nimittam Sambandha Asti. That the king becomes the recipient of the result of victory is because the king enjoys a relationship between himself and army as the master and the servants. So what is done by the servants, the master being related to them, becomes the recipient. It's not that there is no reason how the king becomes recipient of the result of what the army does. But Atma is unrelated. Asangohyam Purusha. Yatu Adhyaksha Adhyakshya. Adhyaksha the witness. Adhyakshya the witnessed. Tayoho Tadrushasya Adarsanat. We do not find that the witness has a relationship with the witnessed. The drashta has no relation with drishya. The witness has no relation with the witnessed. So how can the witness, who is unrelated to the witnessed, something happens to the adhyakshya, meaning what is witnessed, and you want to say that Atma, the witness, becomes a recipient of what happens to the ahamvritti. But Swaswami Sambandha is not there, like the king and the servants. Katham Drishtanta Prakrute Sangata Syat. You did give the example of the king and the servants. Then what the servants do, the king becomes the recipient, the result of what the servants do. Because the king and servant, that master and servant, that relationship exists between them. Here something happens to ahamvritti, chidabhasa. And Atma has no sambandha because the witness does not have sambandha with what is witnessed. The illuminator has no relation with what is illumined. So how what happens to illumined gets connected to the illuminator? Iti ashankya, so that's the doubt. Atrapi asti adhishthana adhishthaya bhava phala sambandha hetu. Here also some kind of a relationship is there. What is it? Adhishthana adhishthaya. Atma is adhishthanam, the substratum, and the chidavasa, ahamvritti, all of them adhishthaya, superimposed. So that is accepted, adhyasa is accepted. But even after adhyasa also chidabhasa is required. Because chidabhasa becomes bound and chidabhasa becomes liberated, and that's how the Atma as though becomes bound and liberated. In that sense, what happens to chidabhasa affects the Atma because one is adhishthanam Atma, other is adhisthaya or adhyaropita. So that sambandha is there. Phala sambandha hetu. That becomes the reason for the phala sambandha. Then what happens to the adhyastha gets connected to the adhishthanam because adhyastha adhishthanam sambandha is there. So second line is an explanation of how the Atma becomes the recipient of the outcome, even though Atma is Kutastha and does not enjoy the relation of Swami. And still it is the recipient of the outcome, namely the knowledge, because Adhisthana, Adhyastha Sambandha is there. Tat anatmatva hetubhyam. Tat anatmatva hetubhyam. इत्यत्र हेतुत्वाभ्याम यदि भाव प्रधानता योज्या तत् अनात्मत्व हेतुत्वाभ्याम, anatmatvam is one and hetutvam is another one. Therefore there is a dual. Bhyam is a dual. So anatmatva hetutvaabhyam. Anatmatva is there and hetutva also is there. Two things are there. Because of anatmatva and hetutva. Anatmatva hetutvabhyam. Iti bhava pradhanata yojya. Kriyayaha pratyayasya cha. This kriya and pratyaya both are anatma and hetu. Kriya and pratyaya, both of them enjoy the state of being anatma and anatmatvam is there. And hetutva also is there. So these two entities, kriya and pratyaya, have these two things, anatmatva and hetutva. Kriya also is anatma, kriya and pratyaya both are anatma, and kriya and pratyaya are both hetu also. For that reason, there is a connection between what happens to the aham vritti with atma. So what is kriya? Kriya aham atmika vritti. Here kriya is aham vritti. Then what is pratyaya? So usually pratyaya is aham vritti. If kriya is aham vritti, then pratyayasya cha. So pratyayartham ayatidivitva pratyantahkarana savasa. So pratyaya is interpreted as the chidabhasa. So antahkarana savasa, the reflection in the antahkarana. Savasa antahkarana, let's say. The antahkarana along with the chidabhasa is pratyaya and aham vritti is the kriya. That's how the interpretation is. Savasa vritti vritti mato ityavat. In short, aham vritti along with avasa and antahkarana along with avasa. Vritti vritti mato, vritti is aham vritti. Vrittimat is antahkaranam that possesses vritti. So vritti vritti mato savasatvam. So both vritti and vrittiman, the aham vritti and the antahkarana, both of them, they enjoy the avasa, reflection of consciousness. Now, anatmatva hetutvabhyam, So, atmatvam cha hetutvam cha atma hetutve, that one is atma as well as hetu, then it's called atma hetutva. Tasya phalasya na atma hetutve. But then that phala is neither atma nor hetu. Tastat anatmatva hetubhyam. Tat means tasya. Tasya anatmatva hetutvabhyam. Tasya means phalasya. Atmatva hetutve. That phalam is neither atma nor the hetu. Tat anatmatva hetutve tabhyam. Tat anatmatva hetubhyam is yojana. So that tat means, see, tat anatmatva hetubhyam is a samasa. Tasya anatmatva hetutvabhyam. Tasya phalasya, because the phala is anatma as well as hetu. Therefore, to explain tatha cha kriya pratyayoho jadayoho phalasvarupatva abhavat. Kriya pratyayoho. Kriya means action or ahamvritti, and pratyaya here means the antahkaranam. So both ahamvritti and antahkaranam, both of them are jadayoho, unconscious. Phalasvarupatva abhavat, therefore they cannot be the phala because they are unconscious. Phala upadanatva, they cannot be of the nature of phala, nor can they be the cause of phala. Tad vyaparam phalam. Therefore the phala that takes place, the vyapara takes place in ahamvritti and the antahkarana. Ahamvritti takes the form of aham brahmasmi. And the phala and antahkarana, because the vritti is the modification of antahkarana. So vyapara, change takes place in the mind. By virtue of a vritti taking place, I am Brahman. But the phalam, the result of that knowledge goes to Atma, because both mind as well as ahamvritti are unconscious. Therefore, there cannot be connection with phala, unconscious thing. Therefore, tad vyapara nibandhanam phalam. The vyapara, the activity takes place in ahamvritti. It undergoes a change from what it is to aham brahmasmi. And because it is unconscious, it cannot be a recipient of the phala, therefore, the phala goes to Atma. Nirvyaparatvevi kutastha yogyam. So Atma is kutastha. It doesn't do any, no change happens. Change has to happen. Jivoham, I am a jiva, I am a karta, I am a bhokta, that is what the ahamvritti thinks. When Upadesha is given, then when the tribulation takes place, say, no, I am Brahmasmi. So vyapara or the change happens in ahamvritti, and therefore in antahkaranam. But because that ahamvritti and antahkaranam both are unconscious, therefore they cannot enjoy the fruit of being Brahman. Who can enjoy the fruit of being Brahman? Atma alone. See, Atma was described as samsari through the agency of antahkarana and chidabhasa. The whole idea was how Atma becomes samsari. Samsara belongs to antahkarana and chidabhasa. And there is adhyasa, superimposition, therefore Atma as though becomes samsari. And therefore Atma should become asamsari. So, just as the Atma became samsari because of adhyasa of antahkarana ahamvritti, so also Atma becomes asamsari by the same adhyasa when antahkarana undergoes a change, says I am aham brahmasmi. So for ahamvritti said I am jiva. So because of adhyasa, Atma said I am jiva. Now ahankara comes to know I am Brahman. So now Atma comes to know I am Brahman. That's the prakriya. And that way there is a sambandha of adhyasa and adhyasta. Adhisthana and adhyasta. Not similar to Swami, but some sambandha is there. So what happens to Swa, the servant, becomes connected to Swami. Similarly also, what happens to Adhyasta becomes connected to Adhisthana. Shuddhasya atmana pramatritvam nasti abhipretya idam Vishishta pramatrakatam phalam kutaste upacharyate iti rajadushtantena uktam. Except kutastasya atmana pramatratvam nasti. Atma is kutastha, therefore Atma cannot be knower. Pramatra means knower. iti abhipretya, with accepting that view that Atma being Kutastha cannot be Pramada, Vastutastu Chit Pratibimbhasyeva Swaupadhi Vyaparena Swatmanidastena Vidyadeva Pramatrutvamiti. But Pramatrutvam is somewhere, Chit Pratibimbhasya. That Chit Pratibimba Chidabhasa becomes the Pramada. Swaupadhi Vyaparena. See what happens is, see here, we have the Antahkaranam, and then we have the Chidabhasa. The Vyapara or activity takes place in Antahkaranam. Antahkaran through the Aham Vritti says Jivoham. As a result of Upadesha, now the Vyapara takes place, change that Aham Brahmasmi. So Vishishta Pramatru Phalam Kutasthe Upacharyate. It is the Aham Vritti that says I am Brahman. By Upachara, in a figurative sense, then gets connected to Atma. Chit Pravimasyeva Swopadi Vyaparena Swatmanadhyastena Vidyateva Pramatrutvam. And so, Chit Pratibimba is Pramata in the primary sense, and because of Adhyasa, Atma becomes Pramata in the secondary sense. That's what is being said here. Chidatmaneva Avikritasya Pratibhimbhavanibandha Phalasambandha. So Chidatma, even though Avikare, because it is Bimba, and what happens, Pramatrutvam is knowness is in Pratibimba, in Chidabhasa. But because Atma is Bimba, therefore what happens to Pratibimba also gets the Sambandha is of Bimba Pratibimba. Therefore Atma becomes connected to the result of Aham Brahmasmi. Pratibimba Bhava Nibandha Phala Sambandha. Nibandha caused by Pratibimba Bhava. Chidabhasa is Pratibimba, as a state of being Pratibimba, and that causes the result in the Atma, because Atma is a Bimba. So the next verse is Adarsastu yada bhasah Mukhakarasya eva saha Yathaivam pratyayadarshaha Yada bhasastadahyaham. Adarsastu yada bhasa. Adarsha the mirror. Yada bhasa. So, the Adarsha or mirror possesses what abhasa or what reflection? Yadabhasa is the adjective visheshana of Adarsha. What is Adarsha? What is mirror? Mirror is the one that possesses the reflection. Of which? That is the image. So here is a bimba, and Adarsh is the one that receives the reflection. So Grivastha Mukham becomes the Mukham, that is Bimba, and Adarsha Yadabhasa. Adarsha becomes the possessed of the reflection of Vyat or Mukham. Mukhakarastha. So whatever be the reflection in the mirror, that is what the mirror appears to be. So if there is a reflection of the face in the mirror, then mirror appears to be of the nature of face. Yadabhasa means face abhasa. Adarsha is possesses the reflection of which? That is the face. And therefore the Adarsha becomes Mukhakara. Adarsha mirror becomes of the Akara of the face, of the nature of the face, or the shape of the face, because it receives the reflection of the face. The mirror becomes of the shape of the face because it receives the reflection of the face. So that is how, see, Sanskrit has this Yadabhasa. The Tikakara will explain. See, Yena Mukhakarana Vishishtaya Avasate Yadabhasa Yena Avasate. That by which the mirror, that by which mirror becomes possessed of the abhas or reflection. Mirror se? Oh, Ara. Acha, all right. Yadabhasa. So my face is the yad, and mirror is yadabhasa. So this mirror is the one possessed of whose image? Yena mukhakarana vishishtata abhasate. See, normally mirror shines in its own way as a mirror. Vishishtata abhasate, now it shines in a special way. When it receives my reflection, then now the mirror shines as possessed of the reflection, or shines as the face. Mirror does not shine as nirakara, but then shines as a face. Yena mukhakarana vishishtaya avasate. The mirror shines as possessed of the specific form of the face. Iti yadabhasa. Yadabhasa san, the mirror being that which is influenced by the reflection of the face. The mirror that shines as the face because the face is reflected. So mirror doesn't have the choice that way. The mirror is the one that shines as a face because it receives the reflection of the face. So Adarsha, Mukhakara, therefore Adarsha, the mirror also, is of the shape of the face, Mukhakara. Saeva saha, saeva grivasteva saha. So what is the akara? Is none other than the face which is on the neck. That is the akara which shines in the mirror. So mirror also has the same akara as the face on the neck. Na tata anyaha. Mirror has no freedom to have the shape of anything other than the bimba, the image that is reflected in that. Yatha bimba pratibimbayoho aikyam loke prasiddham. Just as bimba, the grivasta mukham, the face which is on the neck, and the pratibimba reflection, both of them are one. So that is how we always, we don't even realize that we are looking at the reflection and doing tilak, all kinds of stuff that we do on our face. We don't realize that it is the reflection upon which we are doing. We think that we are doing it on our face itself. I think I am doing tilak on my own forehead. I am looking there and that is where the tilaka appears. So how that distinction? Bimba and Pratibimba is lost because this appears just identical to face. The reflection is identical to face. And therefore, Bimba Pratibimbayoho Aikyam Loke Prasiddham. In the day-to-day life, the oneness or identity of the face and the reflection is known. So it's taken for granted. We never thought about it. How? Just by nature. By default, we take them as one. Evam Pratyadarshah ahankarah yadabhasah. So then ahankara is in the place of the mirror. The consciousness reflected in the ahamvritti is the abhasa. So just as the mirror reflects the face, ahankara reflects consciousness, the atma. And just as there is oneness between the face and the reflection, so also there is oneness between consciousness and the chidabhasa. Yena chit pratibimbena abhasa yadabhasa sachit pratibimba paramatma eva. So just as this mirror possessed of whose reflection, that reflection is none other than the face on the neck, so also the ahamvritti reflects which consciousness. That reflection is nothing but is identical to consciousness. You don't know the difference between the face and the reflection, so also there is no difference between the consciousness and the reflection of consciousness is the ahamvritti. So Paramatma alone, there is aikya between face and the reflection, so also aikya between the Paramatma and the Chidabhasa. न ततः अन्यः अहंकारे aham avabhasa gochara. In the mirror of ahankara, the one that appears is no different from the consciousness. Not that some other entity appears there. It cannot be. Just as nothing other than face can appear in the mirror, so also nothing other than consciousness can appear in the ahamvritti, which is comparable to mirror. Tatha sati aham brahmaiti vakyadhadi ghatate. Therefore, Chidabhasa can say, I am Brahman because it is Brahman, because Brahman alone gets reflected. This mirror can say, I am the face, because the face is exactly what is reflected. So also, Aham Vritti can say, I am Brahman, because Brahman alone gets reflected in the mirror of Aham. Adhyastamsa. So what do you need to do? Adhyastamsa apoha matrena. Only adhyastamsa apoha. You have to recognize that aham vritti is superimposed upon the Atma, and therefore really who is Brahman is Atma. So who is the face is not the mirror, but then what is reflected in the mirror. So who is Brahman is not the aham vritti, but what is reflected in aham vritti, namely consciousness. So that part, adhyastha amsha apoha, adhyastha amsha. So that what appears in ahankara is in fact Atma. That amsha alone is to be given, but otherwise what you are looking in the mirror is your own face. So what you see in aham vritti is only Brahman, except it doesn't belong to aham vritti, it belongs to the image or to Atma. So no Atmana karma. There is no karmatva, meaning that no Atma does not become the object of any activity, nor does it perform any activity. All that is necessary is remove the adhyastha amsha. What appears in the mirror belongs to my face. That's all. Look at the mirror, then all that is necessary is that what appears like that in fact belongs to me, which we are doing anyway. When we look at the face, we are doing that without quite recognizing. That's the reason why this example is given of how that adhyastha apoha takes place. We don't even know that we are looking at the reflection and concluding about ourselves. And so Atma is looking at the reflection, aham vritti, and concluding that I am Brahman. Because image and reflection are identical. Ayam paksha adaraniya iti. This is the only paksha. Because how, if only Atma is there and only Buddhi, Antahkaranam is there, then none of them can receive the Upadesha. In Atma is Kutastha, therefore there cannot be Pramatvatvam. Antahkarana is unconscious, also there cannot be Pramatratva. So there is this third entity called Chidabhasa, which is the aspects of both Atma, so Kutastattva, and Antahkaranam, namely the change or Vyapara. Therefore, in Chidabhasa, there is Vyapara as well as Chit. In Chit, there is no Vyapara. In Antahkaranam, there is no Atmatvam. So, Chidabhasa possesses both Atmatvam by Adhyasa and Vyapara because of connection with the mind. Chidabhasa possesses, the mind undergoes change. But because the reflection is there, reflection also seems to have the same changes. Like when we see the reflection in the mirror, or in the wash basin, our face also appears to be wavy. Therefore, the Chidabhasa seems to be recipient of the Vyapara that takes place in the Upadhi, which is Antahkaranam. And Chidabhasa possesses consciousness that it is derived from the image, that is consciousness. So this is how author all along is justifying this concept of Chidabhasa. Without Chidabhasa, this Upadesha Tattvamasi will have no meaning. That's what he is establishing all along. And in saying so, how the Upadesha is done and how the knowledge takes place also is being explained. Ayam Paksha Adaraniya, this Paksha alone has to be accepted, respected. So verse 110 says, Ityevam pratipatti syat sadasmi tichanyatha tattvamittyupadeshopi dvara bhavadanarthakah. Ityevam, in this manner only, Sadasmi iti pratipatti syat. This is only way that Sadasmi, that I am Sat, I am Brahman, that pratipatti, knowledge can take place in the self. Nacha anyatha, there is no other way that the knowledge can take place in self, because self is changeless and antahkarana is inert, and therefore where will the knowledge take place? So this is the only way it can happen. Tattvamiti upadeshopi. Tattvam, that means Tattvamasi, Upadesha also, Dvara abhava. If Chidabhasa Dvara was not there, that Upadesha also would become meaningless because there is no recipient of that Upadesha. Antahkarana cannot receive because it is inert. Atma cannot receive because it is Kutastha. So here we have a combination of inert as well as consciousness, Chidabhasa. So that becomes a Dvara. Because of which then phala is atmani kalpyam. The phala happens in Chidabhasa, but therefore Atma is only conscious and therefore phala ultimately goes to Atma. That was argued earlier. So going to the Tika, evam, so iti evam pratipatti syat. So evam sati iti evam in this manner. When it is this case, evam sati, when this is so, meaning what? Chidabhasa abhyavagame sati. Only when you accept the concept of Chidabhasa, then only sadahamasmi iti pratipatti syat. Then only Sadamhasmi, I am Sat, I am Brahman, iti, and iti cha, so the Tikayat cha chakarat, aham sadasmi, Sat ahamasmi, aham sadasmi. So what kind of equation you call it in chemistry? This is the both ways, Vyatihara. reversible equations. Both ways equation is there. It's not always so, but there are some cases where reversible equation is there. Here also Sat Aham Asmi, Aham Sad Asmi. Evam Akara Pratipatti Syat. Only when you accept this Chidavasa, then this Pratipatti, the knowledge that Aham Sat will take place. Na Anyatha. Not otherwise. Atmanayava Ahankarasya. We say Atma itself cannot gain the knowledge because it is Kudastha. Ahankara cannot gain knowledge because it is unconscious. Pramatutva vibhagameti. Therefore, none of them can be pramata. Ataha ayameva margaha. So, anichadbhi api adarneheti yojana. Therefore, even those who do not want to accept Chidabhasa, they have to accept this because otherwise there is no way that pratipatti or knowledge. And knowledge takes place, understand. There are wise people. So there is Upadesha Tattvamasi, and there are those who have that knowledge. If there were no wise people, the whole purpose of Upanishad would be meaningless. So sometimes argument is made, who says this knowledge takes place? Says knowledge has to take place because Upanishad is only committed to that only aspect. Upanishad only exhausts itself in this one thing, in conveying that you are Brahman, everything is Brahman. That could not be so if the knowledge could not take place, why the whole thing would become meaningless. The fact that Upanishad is devoted to only one thing, namely conveying that you are Brahman and everything Brahman, that has to be so, then that fact has to be there, knowledge has to be there. Otherwise Upanishad has no purpose to serve. The fact that Upanishad is there, so that purpose must be served. So knowledge must take place. And there are of course Vidvat Anubhava is there. Anichadmyapi adaraniya, therefore even though do not like this idea, they have to accept it. Evam anabhivagame. If you don't accept Chidabhasa, na kevalam pratipatti anupattihi. Not only there is no logical way that the knowledge can take place, apitu upadeshasyapi, and then Upadesha also, because who you are doing Upadesha to whom? That Antahkarana alone doesn't know. I mean, the unconscious Atma is changeless. So, there must be an entity to whom the Upadesha is given. So, therefore, Tattvamiti Upadeshopi Dvara Bhavat Anarthakaha Tvam Artha Anuvada Dvarena hi Tad Artha Bhava Upadeshtavya. See, Tattvam Asi. What does the Mahavakya say? Tattvam Asi or Tvam Tat Asi. Tvam, you are that. No, you is you begin with that, you know. So you, this is called Artha Anuvada. You know who you are. So you start with you, which is a well-known entity, and then you are told you are Brahman, then you are made to think, I am Brahman. Wait a minute, how is that so? So Tvam Artha Anuvada, in Tattvamasi, the Tvam is something that is known to the listener in its own way. Anuvada. So we reiterate this Tvam, and then there we say, hey, what you think Tvam is in fact Tat or Brahman? Tatra Anudyamanasya Chit Pravimasya Bhave. There, so what is that Tvam? Is Chidabhasa. If the Tvam, then if Chidabhasa is not there, then Upadesha is given to him, there is nobody to receive this Upadesha. Tadarthopadesha niralambana. There is nobody to listen to. A Tvam must be there. Tvam cannot be Atma. Tvam has to be Jiva. That is Chidabhasa. And that Jivatma is told you are Brahman. And so that Chidabhasa has to be there. The recipient of the Upadesha, who has to come to recognize that I am Brahman, that my notion that I am a jiva is a false notion. That comes because of adhyasa, because of superimposition, identification, and so that apoha, that alone can be given up identification, and that's how that tvam, who thought that I am a limited entity, recognizes that I am Brahman. Tatra anudyamanasya chit pratibimbasya abhave tadartha upadesho niralambana anarthaka syat. If that tvam is not there, chidabhasa is not there. See, ahankar also is not tvam in the primary sense, because tvam has to be a conscious entity. Atma also cannot be tvam in the primary sense, because Atma is changeless and tvam is the one who is samsari. If samsari is being told that you are Brahman. Now, Atma is not samsari in the primary sense. Antakara is not samsari in the primary sense. So therefore we have this entity called Chidabhasa, who is sort of a combination of both, that is a samsari. And that is who is being taught. And that's the one who receives the upadesha. That's the one who is samsari. That's the one who becomes free. So dvara bhavat anarthakaha. Tattvam, if that tvam is not there, then tattvamasi tvam, you are Brahman, the you is not there. Who is you? That samsari. In tattvamasi, you are Brahman, you is samsari. Now, neither aham vritti is samsari because it is inert, nor atma is samsari because it is consciousness. There has to be a samsari, who is the chidabhasa. So that becomes the loka, so that becomes the entity who is. So the dvara bhavat anartaka. So there has to be a samsari who is to be liberated. Neither aham vritti is samsari because it is unconscious, nor atma is samsari because it is kutastha, changeless. So you imagine a samsari who is being taught by the Upanishad. Not imagine, explain, not imagine. Will explain the nature of samsari who keeps crying and who is sukhi dukhi. Merely aham vritti cannot be that. Merely atma cannot be that. Therefore chidabhasa is a samsari who suffers from an imaginary whatever it is, because dukkha is not, anyway, we said there is no such thing as dukkha, it's just imagined. Dukkha is my reaction to what happens. And it's my interpretation of what happens. So if my interpretation changes, then the way I react, so dukkha is a reaction. In any case, it's his nature to react. Because of ignorance. Doesn't realize that because when the actor thinks that I am beggar, then whatever is done to the costume, he thinks is done to me. So he reacts to everything. You insulted me, you rewarded me, etc. So that's how poor samsari keeps on suffering. When they realize when that viveka takes place, then he can separate himself, that adhyasa. Anyway, so a bhikhari must be there. That beggar must be there. If he is real beggar, he can't be told you are rich. If he is already rich, he doesn't have to be told that he is beggar, he is rich. So there is a rich and there is a beggar both. the rich thinks that I am beggar, then only there is a scope or a role for this Upadesha that you are a wealthy person. So there is a beggar, a samsari, who in reality is Brahman. Then only there is a scope for this teaching that you are Brahman. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.